Welcome to Mental Matrix. Today my topic is mind games behind your sexual. Have you ever wondered why you're attracted to someone you shouldn't be? Why your fantasies don't always match your morals? Or why certain kinks turn you on even if you can't explain why? Welcome to the strange, beautiful, and sometimes confusing world where psychology meets sexuality, where desire isn't just about your body, but the mind games it plays with you. Today we're pulling back the curtain on your sexual desires, what shapes them, what manipulates them, and how much control you really have over them. Sexual desire starts in the mind. Contrary to what people think, sexual desire doesn't actually start in your genitals, it begins in your brain. Neuroscientists often say your biggest sexual organ is your mind. Here's how it works. Your senses, sight, sound, touch, smell, send signals to your brain. Your brain then processes these signals through memory, emotion, and imagination. Finally, your body reacts. This means that desire is more about interpretation than raw physical touch. Two people can experience the exact same situation, a kiss, a glance, a scent, and one might feel nothing, while the other feels a rush of lust. Why? Because your brain attaches meaning to the experience based on your past, your beliefs, and your subconscious associations, childhood imprints, and early experiences. Your earliest emotional and sensory experiences often leave imprints that quietly shape your turn-ons as an adult. Sometimes it's obvious, like someone who finds a certain hairstyle sexy because their first crush had it. Other times it's completely hidden from your conscious mind. Psychologists call this sexual imprinting. For example, if you grew up in an environment where affection was rare, you might crave intense passion in relationships. If you associated attention with playfulness, you might be drawn to partners with a teasing, fun energy. It's not about right or wrong desires. It's about understanding that many of them were written into you before you were even aware of it. The role of forbiddenness. The human brain loves what it can't have. When something is forbidden, scarce, or socially taboo, it can actually make it more desirable. This is why many people are turned on by taboo scenarios, not because they literally want them to happen in real life, but because the brain confuses danger with excitement. When your mind senses a risk, it often triggers the same adrenaline response you'd get from thrill-seeking skydiving, roller coasters, except here it's tied to sexuality. That's why the chase, the secrecy, or the sense of breaking the rules can be so arousing. The power of fantasy. Here's a truth that might shock you. Fantasy and reality operate on different rulebooks. Many people have fantasies they would never want in real life, and that's perfectly normal. Your imagination is a safe space to explore scenarios without consequences. Why does your brain do this? Fantasy lets you explore extremes, power, danger, control without physical risk. It also gives your brain novelty, which is a key ingredient in arousal. In fact, studies show that people often become bored in long-term relationships, not because they've lost attraction, but because the novelty factor has faded. Fantasy brings that back, even if it's just in your head. How media programs your desire. Whether we like it or not, our sexual tastes are influenced by media, movies, music, advertising, and especially online content. Porn, for example, can shape expectations by exaggerating certain body types, behaviors, or acts. Romance movies can do the same, but in a different way, idealizing emotional connection and grand gestures. Over time, your brain starts to associate certain images, sounds, or scenarios with arousal even if they don't match your real-life values. This is why someone can know something is unrealistic, yet still find it power dynamics and control. One of the most fascinating mind games in sexuality is the power dynamic. Sometimes desire is fueled by dominance and submission, not because one person is weak and the other is strong, but because switching roles can be psychologically thrilling. Why does this work? Because power exchange taps into deep psychological needs. The dominant feels a rush of control and responsibility. The submissive feels a release from decision-making and self-control. In a safe, consensual environment, this can become a way for people to explore hidden sides of themselves. Why desire is unpredictable. Here's the tricky part. You can't always choose what turns you on. Desire is a mix of biology, psychology, and social conditioning. You might think your attractions are purely your choice, but much of it is automatic, shaped by your brain's wiring and your life experiences. That's why people can be happily in love with one person, yet still feel sudden attraction toward someone else. The brain isn't always loyal. It's curious. The danger of guilt. Many people feel guilty about their fantasies or desires, especially if they don't align with their values. But guilt can actually make desire stronger. When you suppress a thought, your brain pays even more attention to it, a phenomenon known as the white bear effect. Instead of trying to erase certain desires, a healthier approach is to understand them, set boundaries, and decide which ones you want to explore and which ones you only want to keep in your imagination. How to take control of your desire. While you can't fully control what turns you on, you can influence it over time. Here's how. 1. Self-awareness. Keep track of patterns in your desires. What triggers them? What's the emotional tone? 2. Conscious exposure. Surround yourself with media and experiences that reflect the type of sexuality you want to cultivate. Open communication. Talk with partners about fantasies, boundaries, and comfort zones. 4. Avoid shame cycles. Curiosity isn't a crime. Desire doesn't define your moral worth. The final reveal. At the end of the day, sexual desire isn't a flaw to be fixed or a puzzle to be fully solved. It's a constantly evolving mix of instinct, memory, culture, and personal meaning. The mind games behind your desires are not here to control you. They're here to teach you about yourself. The more you understand them, the more power you have to decide which desires you want to feed and which you want to leave in the shadows of your mind. So the next time you catch yourself feeling turned on by something unexpected, don't rush to judge it. Pause, ask yourself, where did this come from? What does it say about me? And do I want to explore it or just understand it? Because when you master the mind games behind your sexual desires, you don't just control your fantasies. You control yourself.